What's up, my know-it-alls? It is absolutely that time again. That's right. It is Wednesday morning, which means it's time for The Mandalorian. Specifically, we're going to talk about The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 18. I know last week I said the wrong chapter number, but this is Chapter 18.
You're forgiven.
The Mines of Mandalore. Man, that was okay. So the much longer episode, 44-minute episode.
I was excited. It was a little longer. Still didn't feel like it was 44 minutes, but.
So let's go through it. So the episode. Well, first off, does anything jump out that you want to talk about?
Can I just say we're getting really great Grogu time?
Oh my God. He's evolving into such a cool character.
And you forget, he spent time with Luke. So when you see stuff throughout the episode, he's using not all, but some of that knowledge that I was like, oh, look, absolutely. I forget. You know, he hung out with Luke for a minute.
100%. No, for sure. And I think I like how expressive he's becoming, not just in his expressions, but like with the things he's doing. Like when he's scared, he does a certain thing or behaves a certain way or gets closer to Din Djarin or whatever. Like he's got so much personality.
Yeah, we're seeing his personality, I think, finally like peak.
Yeah, I think last week I called it. I said he was nuanced. He was getting very nuanced, and I think that's a really apt description because there's so many little things they do with him. Like when he's flying down with Bo-Katan later, you see his ears flapping and stuff, and then he's but when he's concerned, his eyes get real big, and then he'll kind of back off his little
His
wheel.
mouth tells a whole bunch of different stories. Like you can see his expressions, like what he does with his mouth.
Yeah,
and they
really,
his ears.
and I feel like they've both cheated and really very smartly so, because his chair, as he gets when he gets scared, he'll back up his chair. Like his chair gets to be part of his personality.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's he's a puppet, but at the same time,
they're making him so realistic.
Very, very realistic, and I really like that too. So the episode starts with us revisiting Pelimato on Tatooine, which is specifically that's Amy Sedaris' character, and so we that there's already going to be a. Clearly, Mando needs something that he wants to try to find and whatnot.
Yep.
And so he stops by to visit, and she's in the middle of conning some Rodian.
I think it's funny that the Jawas went on it with her too, because
remember she had her ex is a Jawa.
Yeah, that's so weird.
I know it, but hey, man, whatever. You know what they say? Once you go, okay. Yeah, I got nothing. Anyways, and that's when Din Djarin shows up, and he is essentially he's looking for the memory circuit for that rope for the IG unit, the one that tried to kill him, the one that was also protected them and saved them.
And became a nurse.
Right, and became a nurse, the whole bit, and so she turns her, because the reason is he wants to go to Mandalore, to go to the mines of Mandalore to swim in the thing and whatever and the stuff, and he wants to have a droid to test the air, because remember, as far as he knows, Mandalore is cursed. Mandalore has been
poisoned,
totally salted. Like they just raised the ground, salted it, left nothing behind.
It's not inhabitable.
Right. So that can be radiation and whatever else. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So he wants a droid that can test it out, and the only droid he trusts right now is IG. Peli takes the opportunity, and because she's never found a deal she didn't like, she proceeds. Oh, by the way, when I love speaking to what you said earlier, when they first show up, the little bay thing opens up, and sure enough, Grogu jumps out in this little flip. Yeah, totally, very Master Yoda.
Right into her little into Peli's arms.
Totally, and she's like, "Who taught you how to do that?" Anyway, and she ends up selling him R5. So it's great.
Such a timid droid, too.
Oh, dude, R5 is the biggest wuss ever, and he's literally falling apart at the seams. And Mando's calling her out on it, but they put the navigator's tube back in and took Grogu's dome off. So now the little pod works again for the astromech to get into again, as we're used to seeing. So what's cool now? So now he's got a co-pilot also. as well as somebody who can check the
atmosphere.
The atmosphere or whatever quality. And what I really love is that takes you to the title break, because that was all the cold open. As he's leaving, that's where you get that really great shot that we've seen in all the trailers where Grogu and him are looking at all the fireworks, because it's Bunta Eve in on Tatooine. So it's essentially like it's like their version of a solstice of some sort. It isn't Christmas, remember, that's Life Day. And of course, and as we always like to say, because it's Life Day somewhere, Happy Life Day. All right, so then it continues with them having I love how much Mando's teaching. He's teaching Grogu.
He's doing it just like any. He's doing it just like any.
He's not
parent
treating
would
him
do it
like like any Mandalorian parent would do it. He's literally like, he's not treating him. So okay, in any universe, Grogu might be seen as some type of creature with a deficiency, a disability, if you will. He's got trouble reaching high spots, this and that. He's really tiny. He's got all kinds. He's gonna ultimately in his life, if he were to continue on with not anything else, he would need some sort of assistance going through life. Okay, not this guy. Mando's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to teach you exactly how you're going to be. And so literally they're flying and they're heading back to Mandalore. And as they're going through, he's explaining Mandalorians have to understand how to read maps because
then you'll never be lost.
That you'll never be lost. And he explains, he's like this, and he shows him a little, it's funny. The star chart is literally a little circle, but there's 3 little dots on it.
Dots on it.
Yeah. He's like, this is where we're going. This is where I was born. And that's where we went to go see Bo-Katan. Okay. Little tidbit, drop it, run. So they get down to the planet, and they make it, and they first encounter these weird troll-like creature things. Bo-Katan names them later, but
we come to find out they used to live on the outskirts of the cities.
Yeah, they're they're almost like a barbarian-y monster thing. And while they're so they get jumped by those and attacked, and ultimately Mando has to protect them and do his thing. So finally, him and Grogu end up they find ways down and in and whatnot, and eventually they get to this one little like cliff precipice, and you oversee this subterranean city. It's just, I guess the city goes, there's more than just the broken pieces. By the way, that's the other thing that's really devastating. The place literally looks like it's made of glass. They blasted this thing from orbit and just wrecked the whole planet. More than just buildings, like you said, the heat just shattered this thing.
Shattered it. Everything became so hot. Everything looks like it's glass.
Yeah, and the land it looks like it was hit so hard it exploded up in heat and just kind of became this essentially glass sculpture. It reminds me of some of the old representations of Krypton, and from Superman. Just because it's all these jaggedy stones and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, or shards.
Totally. So then they go down and essentially while they're down below, there's some sort of mechanical trap thing. It could be I'm not sure what it is really. I think it's. What'd you say? You said something. You said you thought maybe it was.
I feel like that they were trapping all of the Mandalorians that would end up down there, like and just like melt the Beskar off of them.
Yeah, well, so you know what's funny is I have to say I didn't think that, but now I do, because that makes total sense. So this entire area, and Grogu, by the way, because Din Djarin gets snatched. He gets grabbed by this giant mech spider droid thing, and he's put in this little cage dealie that keeps him perfectly. He's got nowhere to move. It's encapsulating him. And so he gets dragged back to this creature's lair to where and you see all these helmets of Mandalorian helmets, and that's about it. And so then he puts him on what looks like a spit and looks like he's going to bleed him, and then he's going to melt him or do something else. I don't know what's going, but yeah, I agree with you. I think 100% that's probably exactly what's going down. At that point, Grogu is kind of goes under him, and literally Din Djarin's like, run, find Bo-Katan. And so what does he do? He hot tails it out of there. Totally.
He's so...
It's for
I mean,
puppet.
it's for this like this
Oh, it's
tense
great.
moment of what's going on, and then this cute little Grogu is
Yeah, no, he's doing amazing.
running through. They're doing a good job at Grogu.
And so he jumps into his little thing and zooms away, and he's going, and there's creatures trying to get him, and he's like freaking out, but he's going, and he gets underneath where they came down and proceeds to shoot up.
Yep.
And as soon as he gets up to the top, he heads back to the ship, and they get in, and he points right where he wants to go, and he tells the mech droid in whatever his little language is, and sure enough, they go. Mm-hmm. And the droid takes him to Bo-Katan. So Bo-Katan's ready to tell off Mando. As her droid tells her you have an unexpected visitor, she sees the ship landing, and all of a sudden, boop! There pops his head up, and she's like, "What happened? Where is he? What happened to him?" And so, sure enough, Grogu takes her back.
She goes out there like, "I told you, I don't want anything to do with you." And
yeah, totally.
I was like, "Okay, well, that's."
And then she turns around, and you see, and Grogu's like, and so he leads her back, and they get on, and they go, and they make it, and she's got to fight some stuff off and whatnot, but she's Bo-Katan, and she's awesome, and so
she fights the troll thing.
the little troll guys, she fights those guys, and she eventually finds the mech dude, and she helps defeat that thing, and eventually saves. Din Djarin wakes up, and he's been rescued and whatnot, and she's like, yeah, he's really good at. You've been teaching him well. He was able to lead me here. He's a good little navigator, and so he's like, all right, cool. Well, I'm still going.
I'm still gotta go. Gotta go for a swim.
So she commits. She's like, well, I've been to I know exactly where it's at. Apparently, as part of the royal family, you get to like go visit places and stuff.
That was the other thing. I didn't realize she was such royalty. Like I knew she was like her family was very big, but I did not realize that she actually, when she said I used to rule, that she was actually a princess.
She's referencing events from I want to say Star Wars Rebels, which is an anime. That's where her character came from and was voiced by Katie Sackhoff. Right. And so I think that's what she's referencing is those events. And because there was a time when she was briefly the actual head of Mandalore, and so I was really, it was interesting to hear that much more, because so you see stuff in the old animated series and whatnot, but you don't actually get into much of the depth of her history. So hearing more about those things and seeing those references, seeing them get a little deeper, especially in quote unquote canon, live action, is really neat. By the way, this whole segment in Underground is beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Some people are gonna be like, you can totally tell it's the volume. I don't know, man. These things look gorgeous. It's wonderfully done. It uses, to me, it's the best use of the volume that I've seen yet in terms of giving us a sense of scale. Because you feel like this is the scene, the same kind like scale of the scene from episode 7 when we first meet Rey and she's inside the guts of that big giant Star Destroyer.
Oh,
and they show her coming down. They back up and it's huge. It feels that big, and I love that fact. So as much as people want to criticize because they're like, oh, Andor was shot on practical sets, and it was. I believe there are moments like this that hold up really well and really reinforce why that technology is being used.
Can we tell it's on the volume, or can we tell it's on the volume because our brains know that it exists?
Great call. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's the case.
If we didn't know it existed, it'd be great.
So there's this one shot, and it's literally one scene. Blink and you'll miss it. I'll see if I can track it down while we're doing the review, so that I can, when I'm editing it, so I can ultimately put it on the screen right now. But it's this shot that's for a split second you're down low, looking up, and I think we're supposed to be in Grogu's perspective, his POV, because we're looking up at Mando at Bo-Katan as she's walking, and you see the ceiling of where they're walking. And the thing is, that's done on the volume. And it was you're right in that you say, is it impressive because we know, like, do we know it's on the volume because we know, or do we know it's because it looks like it? I noticed how good it looked.
Yeah.
And to me, that made me think because it's the volume. But I feel like if I didn't know that tidbit, I would have just been amazed by the shot because it looks good and it looks genuine.
Right.
And she looks as married into it as you could possibly be. And I think it's great. So, yeah, man, it's a neat... I really love that moment. I love that moment entirely in that scene. I think it's a great moment. And then just after just after she saves him and rescues him, he commits. She agrees to go with him down below and lead him down there. They arrive, and it's this essentially water, and and there's a plaque, and she says, "Oh wait, you're gonna get the full tour experience." And she reads him what's on the plaque. And it begins to set this moment that you feel like is going to be an emotional moment. As he steps into the water, he begins reciting the creed. Ooh, you find out that Bo-Katan apparently swore the creed as well, because that's a thing Mandalorians did. It was a ceremony. Probably an armor earning ceremony or something along those lines, but you swear. So she's not unfamiliar to the creed. She's just not one of the people who takes it fanatically, religiously.
Oh, so it kind of sounds like we have different facts of religion.
Sure.
Or sects of religion. I think it's the same thing when it comes to the Mandalores.
I agree with that. Absolutely. And so now as he's stepping into the thing, he suddenly gets sucked under. And we're like, what? And so she puts her helmet on and dives in.
You're like, how many times has she got to save him?
Dude, totally. But also, so he just got sucked in. It took her maybe less than a minute to jump in after him. He's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah,
and she's going
gone
deep.
for a while.
Yeah, she uses her rocket. She goes deep, and she eventually finds him toward the bottom, and she grabs him, and she starts heading up. And as she's heading up, she passes this ridgy cliff face looking thing, and an eye opens. And when it moves, you see the giant the horns of the mythosaur. It's a
live one.
Which, according to legend, the mythosaur was Mandalore the Great fought a mythosaur in that area, which is why it's the blessed lake water, whatever the heck. And so, yeah, man, it's intense, and you're like, what?
It was a good episode.
Yeah, no,
it was a good episode. Again, didn't feel like 44 minutes.
No, but and so and then that's it, man. It's over. But whew, tell you what, I enjoyed thoroughly, especially you get to see. There's really cool one. I love the fact that Bo-Katan refers to Din as Grogu's dad.
Yes.
And he says, and she talks to him and says, your kid came and got me this and that. Because that is very much, it's funny, Mandalorians are a race of foster parents. They're a race.
They really are, yeah.
Like if they find you, they bring you in, and you are now part of their culture. So it's such a neat, that whole it's very neat to see how the culture would have been or whatever. Anyway, I liked seeing Bo-Katan briefly when she's saving Din Djarin. She finds his stuff, and there's the Darksaber, and she has to use it. You could definitely see every time. So when he was fighting the trolls,
he looked it was not natural for him at all. You can still tell he hasn't learned how to use it.
And it's fighting him or whatever else. Whereas Bo-Katan, she's using it, and she is cutting up fools, hardcore. And you're like, man, she's amazing. So anyway. Yeah.
Does that mean she gets to rule Mandalore now? Since she saved what's his name?
No, she has to defeat him. She has to win it in ritual combat. No, it's a whole thing.
I wish I would have seen what Mandalore looked like before the Empire, because we were talking about this earlier, that I feel like was a combination, you said, of Alderaan. And I'm like, but what about Coruscant? Like, it's
probably,
nice.
I think the subterranean city elements are probably very Coruscant-y.
Yeah, very.
Because it seems like they lived inside the planet, but at the same time, but leaving the exterior of the planet somewhat, it still looked beautiful, but there were still mountains and forests, and like they didn't fully tear up. Like,
so I said, I feel like it was like a great big.
Yeah, well, I'll probably let me see if I can dig up some shots from from Rebels when they actually showed some of the history and past
of Mandalore.
Yeah, and you kind of get a better idea. But yeah, man, well, there you go. Now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, you are halfway to being a know-it-all yourself. Is there anything that you wanted to cover?
No, just that Grogu's awesome.
Dude, he is amazing.
How they're doing him, giving him such personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so this episode, what's the know-it-all index for this one? I went first last week. What's your score for this one?
8.5.
Really?
It's my 8.5.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And probably because, like I said, they're giving such character to Grogu that, and I like the fact that I'm as a fan and learning more about Mandalore, so that's kind of cool too. 8.5 for me.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? I'll go with you. I'll agree with you. I'll go 8.5. That sounds like that's a fair assessment for this episode. Comment below. Let us know what you thought. Would love to absolutely hear your opinions on the episode, if not about anything Star Wars related or Grogu or Mandalorian related. But yeah, we're always looking to expand our conversations with our awesome community here at the Know It All Nation. So, anything else you want to say before anybody?
Nope, I'm good. It was a good episode, and I'm happy.
I look forward to seeing it for real. No, absolutely. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon next week. Never forget,
everyone loves a know-it-all.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.